everyone, I'm Jenna Hogdevet, and I'm an Army cadet and I'm majoring in HR management, and I'll be your MC for today's Veterans Day ceremony. Today we are here honoring those who have served or are now serving in the United States Armed Forces. Thank you for showing your support and attending today's event. Once a year, on November 11th, we recognize our military veterans for their service and their sacrifice, and for their dedication and valor. But really, every day could be Veterans Day, because the call to duty is every minute of every hour of every day. The job of defending the nation is too vital and too important to be anything but a round-the-clock job. Someone, somewhere, is always on guard. We know from recent conflicts and wars in our nation's history that the cost of safeguarding America's existence can be high. And so there's always a reason to pay our respects to the men and women of the United States who have put their lives on the line to preserve our freedoms. There is no way to repay those who made the ultimate sacrifice other than to remember them, respect them, and honor what they stood for and what they have done for us. And now, will you please join me in standing for the presentation of the colors by UND's Army ROTC Color Guard. Please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem by Army ROTC Cadet Bryce Gartner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Order, order. Colors, hope.
You may be seated. Our first speaker this afternoon, UND President Andy Armacost, served more than 30 years in the United States Air Force and retired at the rank of Brigadier General. He was the Dean of Faculty at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs before being named UND President in December 2019. Who knew that because of the pandemic, it would be another 7 months before he could set foot on campus? But we're glad he's here now, not only because of his understanding of what service to our country means, but also because of the important new initiatives he's launched that will take UND into the future. Please join me in welcoming President Andy Armacost.
Well, it's great to be here and to see a full house of people here to honor our veterans on this most important day. And if I'm a betting man, I would guess that many in the audience are veterans themselves. If you are a veteran, please stand up. And let's give them a round of applause for their service. Well done. And in addition, when we have our ROTC cadets and their cadre here to honor Veterans Day, it's really a peek into the future. The folks who are raising their hand and saying, I volunteer for this important service. And they come to events like this and say, this will be me. This will be me when I achieve active duty status and when I do the tough things it takes to serve our nation, whether it's in times of peace or in times of war. I'm pleased to have joining me Mayor Bochenski and Colonel Curry, who the three of us actually joined forces in the opening of the Veterans Memorial Park here in Grand Forks, and many of you were probably there for that. We won't do the exact same thing that we did that day, but I think you can agree that for a community like Grand Forks to come together with, by my estimate, my expert estimating abilities, probably close to 1,500 people in that park that day, to honor those who have served and those who have passed away. I thought it was a tremendous statement about what our great city does to honor its veterans. And we also see this with the great relationship we have with Grand Forks Air Force Base and the close connection that all of us and the ownership that we have as a community of that great active duty unit. And I know that Colonel Curry will talk about that in his remarks. But we're here today to reflect upon the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, which marked the armistice that brought an end to World War I. The United States eventually made that day, November 11th, a national holiday to honor and remember those who served our nation in military service. And in addition, our friends in Canada use that day, same day, today, to honor what they call Remembrance Day, where they remember those who have passed away in service to their nation. And Veterans Day can certainly bring mixed emotions. It's a time to celebrate courage, to mourn loss, and to remember what we wish had never happened and hope will never happen again. We can look to America's greatest generation that fought in World War II, a generation that grows smaller with each passing year, for countless examples of heroism and sacrifice. Veterans Day is about remembering and honoring the deeds and sacrifices of all those who served. And part of being in the military is about serving your nation when it becomes necessary and doing what's needed, whether it's in a non-combat role, during peacetime, or perhaps driving a tank in a desert battle. When you join the military, you simply never know when or what or how you'll be called upon to do. And consider the examples of some of these great UND graduates and how they have served. Think about former UND President Tom Clifford from Langdon. He enlisted in the Marine Corps after Pearl Harbor. He advanced from the rank of private to major, commanding tanks on Guadalcanal, Saipan, and Iwo Jima. Wounded in combat, he received the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, and the Silver Star. Carolyn B Craft graduated from UND in 1966 with a degree in foods and nutrition. She became a dietitian in the U.S. Army. Later, she began advocating for women's rights in the military. She became the second woman to hold the position of Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Manpower and Reserve Affairs, where she played a major role in the repeal of the combat exclusion laws. Lieutenant Colonel Elton Ringsack was from Grafton and graduated from UND in 1937. He served in the U.S. Army during World War II, earning the Distinguished Service Cross and several Purple Hearts. He was a member of the North Dakota legislature for 16 years and served as the Walsh County State's Attorney. Denny Elbert, former dean of what was then simply known as the College of Business and Public Administration, served in the U.S. Army and saw combat in Vietnam and Cambodia, where he was wounded. He earned the Purple Heart and the Bronze Star. Denny was an ROTC cadet here at UND who earned degrees in business and marketing and was once the university's longest-serving dean. He rose to the rank in the U.S. Army Reserves to the rank of lieutenant colonel. Captain Carl Cully Ekstrom from Minneapolis graduated from UND with an education degree in 1941. He also won the National Golden Gloves Featherweight Championship while a student here at the university. He joined the U.S. Army Air Force, became a fighter pilot, and was tragically killed on his 51st mission over Nazi-occupied France. And finally, Catherine K. Lawrence grew up in Grand Forks and became the first woman graduate of UND to earn her pilot's license through the College of Engineering's Civil Aeronautics Authority program. And instead of staying in her job at Boeing, she instead served in the Women's Air Force Service Program, known as the WASPs. Sadly, she died in a training accident in Texas at the young age of 23. So with all these incredible examples of service, and many of your examples of service as well, I'm certainly proud to be leading a university that is so committed to each and every one of its veterans. Those who have served, and as I mentioned before, our students who are getting ready to begin their journey of service as well. And let's not forget, of course, all of the family members who sat beside and served along and waited for their veterans to come home. On Veterans Day, it's important that we, as a nation, honor our service members who have served during conflicts, as well as those who have served during peacetime. Our nation owes them a debt of enormous gratitude that can never be repaid. Thank you.
Thank you, President Armacost. The partnership between the University of North Dakota and the Grand Forks Air Base has lasted for decades and has been beneficial to both organizations. Since the base began operating in the 1950s, the men and women who served there have been on the front lines in defending our nation. Many of them have attended UND. Soon, a new chapter will be opened when that mission extends into space. Our next speaker is Colonel Timothy Curry, Vice Commander of the 319th Reconnaissance Wing at the base. He's a pilot with 2,300 flying hours in a variety of manned and unmanned aircraft. Colonel Curry is responsible for organizing and equipping 2,500 airmen to fly and support Global Hawk operations. Please give a warm Fighting Hawks welcome to Colonel Tim Curry.
So this is kind of cool. The mayor and I are sitting there. I thought he was going to be the second speaker. So I internally was nervous about the protocol. I'm like, I shouldn't be sitting here. I'm like, Mr. Mayor, you got to move. So this worked out great, so thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so what a blessing and opportunity to join you today to say thank you to our veterans for their service to our nation. UND gave me 3 questions to consider, and they gave me 4 minutes to deliver this address, so we'll see how I do. Number 1, what does it mean to me to have the community back together? It means the world to me. I believe every veteran will tell you that they joined, stayed, fought, and continue to invest into this great nation because of their community. Because of their fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, children, neighbors, and even strangers in foreign lands. Because all of you have a way of inspiring us to demonstrate honor, devotion, dedication, courage, and pursuit of peace. Each one of you played a critical role in our national defense. During World War I, if the women in military technology factories stopped working for even 20 minutes, the Allies would have lost the war. During World War I, if 500,000 African American men would not have honored their draft orders, the Allies would have lost the war. During World War I, if the sons of farmers from North Dakota had not taken up arms in Europe and the Pacific, the Allies would have lost the war. A community is a social team. It's really a family, with commonalities such as norms, religion, values, customs, and even identity. So for those of us still serving in uniform today, I want to say thank you to this community that continues to inspire many of us to pursue our American values here and abroad. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are worth fighting for. You are worth fighting for. Number 2, what are my personal thoughts on Veterans Day? Some of you have heard that my father was born in 1912. He served in World War II. He was and always will be one of my heroes. He never talked about his service, ever. He simply demonstrated the core values I've grown to love as a service member. Integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. I better understand why he and many service members do not share their experiences, and yet I wish they would. I wish you'd share your experiences a little bit more. It's a mixed bag of emotions. When I think of what my father and every veteran here today has provided for me and my family, I feel not only thankful and grateful, humility, honor, pride, but also feel pain, confusion, remorse, anger, even horror in some instances for what they lived through, experienced, witnessed, considered, and press on with in this life. Some of it will never be spoken. It is for these reasons we take a moment of silence to honor the living, the survivors, the veterans, who stood the watch under tough conditions. Freedom is not free. Please take time to ask a veteran one of their memories, some of their memories that they'd like to share with you about their service. Ask them. And finally, number 3, what is the significance of the day for me? Similar to one of my mentors, General, now President Armacost, I've spent my entire adult life spending time with veterans. I've also spent my entire adult life at war in faraway lands. Veterans Day is significant for me because it allows me to consider what my father, sister, and brother provided to our nation as veterans of the Army and Navy. It also allows me to say thank you to them and to you, the veterans in here amidst us. It also allows me to say thank you, General Armacost, for your service. And to all the veterans here for being willing to fight for and give their life for my freedom and my family's freedom. It also allows me to say thank you to this community and to my family, to my bride sitting in the second row, Jenny, for your support that you provide to service members and to their families. Ultimately, we should all remember this day honors our veterans who have integrated back into the community. Never forget, many of them have seen battlefields full of horror in war. In some instances, all life and nature appeared to evaporate before their eyes. Not a bird, not even a rat, not even a blade of grass, and yet God spared their life. These are the veterans that walk amongst us. They are our community. They're certainly worthy of a day like today. Thank you.
Thank you for those thoughtful comments, Colonel Curry. Our next speaker is not only the mayor of Grand Forks, but also a graduate of the Nissler School of Business and Public Administration. And some of you may have heard that he's played a bit of hockey at UND in the NHL and overseas. Like President Armacost, Brandon Bachenski assumed his leadership position as the mayor of Grand Forks during the COVID pandemic. The relationship between our local military units and the Grand Forks community has continued as a strength of this region. Please welcome the mayor of the great city of Grand Forks, Brandon Bachenski.
Thank you. I'm certainly humbled to even be able to share the stage with two men with the military pedigree that Colonel Curry and General Armacost do. Unlike Colonel Curry, I wasn't given any questions or a time limit, so get comfortable, everybody. Those in the back, we might need some extra chairs. But well, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here today. Thank you, UND President Armacost and the Alumni Association for hosting. We thank our veterans not only for their past service, but for what they do for us today. I've found in my short time as being mayor that oftentimes our veterans are the ones that are most civically engaged, whether it be volunteering, helping their fellow neighbor, or organizing projects throughout the community that benefit all of us. I think of the Lions Club, I think of the American Legion, and many other clubs across the city. When it comes to doing right by our veterans and military members, I'm proud to say that Grand Forks has been a champion at both the state and the national level. When it came to occupational license reciprocity or veteran income tax benefits, Grand Forks led the charge and lobbied for their passage in Bismarck. When it comes to base retention and promotion of the Grand Forks Air Force Base, there may be no better team than what the city and the county has assembled to represent our civic engagement at a national level. This relationship has often been touted locally, but is now known in DC, the Pentagon, and at bases all across the nation. Our veterans are our friends, our neighbors, and our family members. Look no further than President Armacost, retired general, Brigadier General in the Air Force, and a close friend. I think of my friend Richard Glynn, a Vietnam veteran. Thank you both for your service. I think of my grandfather, Henry Louis Bochenski, Grandpa Hank. I think of his 21-year-old self standing on the deck of a Navy ship in Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. I think of his fortitude, his bravery, and his courage. I think of what he left there on that day and many days in the long and protracted Pacific campaign. I think of how he lived the rest of his life and how he raised his family. I then look back at my own life and think of myself as a 21-year-old. I think of how much our nation has changed. I look at our youth today, and quite frankly, my peers, the instant gratification, the social media culture that exists today, the negative connotation in some circles of the word patriot and patriotism. These words are beautiful words. We have every right to be proud of our country, the greatest country that the world has ever known. We should be proud of our past, not only for our victories, but our failures, and our willingness to learn from them, and to continue towards a more perfect union. A perfect union is a goal that we shall ever strive for, knowing that we'll never fully reach it. Our veterans and military members give me hope. They make me proud to be an American. They're an example of everything that is right: selflessness, service, dedication, discipline, and a willingness to stand up and say, "Send me," to fight for a cause that's greater than themselves. We have many sites to honor our veterans, including our very own Veterans Memorial Park, which we just dedicated a couple months ago. But remember, the most important place to honor our veterans is in our hearts, in our minds, and in our prayers. Lastly, our thoughts and prayers are with the family of General Al Palmer, a community giant who is dealing with some serious health issues right now. Our community is indebted to his bold leadership and fortitude, upon which our recently dedicated Veterans Memorial Park would not have been possible. If you haven't visited the park already, I recommend going there today to stop by, pay respects, and see the great work done by so many of our veterans and community members. And really, today's probably a good day because tomorrow it's probably going to be covered in snow. So get out there if you get a chance. Finally, thank you to all our veterans and their families. We all know that when a veteran serves, their whole family serves. So thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you, Mayor Bachenski. As we've heard, many of the University of North Dakota's outstanding alumni have either served or gone on to serve in the U.S. military, both in war and during peacetime. The UND Alumni Association and Foundation has a long, proud tradition of recognizing and honoring university alums for their service. Under the leadership of our next speaker, DeAnna Carlson Zink, the association's CEO, this tradition continues. It's no coincidence that our Veterans Day observance is taking place here at the Grecky Alumni Center and being hosted by an organization totally committed to supporting UND's veterans. Please give a proud North Dakota welcome, DeAnna Carlson Zink.
Thank you very much, Cadet Jenna Hochtvedt. It is definitely an honor to be included in today's program. On behalf of all of the alumni of this great university, I want to thank all of you who have served in the military. You make us all very proud. The University of North Dakota has a proud tradition of service and of honoring those who have served. As was noted in the ceremony earlier this year surrounding the demolition of the Memorial Stadium, alumni donations led to the construction of the stadium with the expressed goal of the facility serving as a memorial to the 33 former students who had lost their lives in World War I. And of course, the Memorial Union also serves as a monument to our war dead, even in its new form. That will not change. As has been said, military veterans have had an outsized impact on students of this outstanding university. In fact, just this year, 3 of our SUE Award recipients were military veterans. Werner Nissler, the namesake of the Nissler College of Business and Public Administration, served 2 years before beginning his career. Former Grand Forks Mayor Mike Brown signed up to attend medical school at UND while stationed at the Grand Forks Air Force Base. And, of course, we have Terry Severson, who served a long and decorated career in the Air Force before starting a highly successful telecommunications company. These are just 3 examples of the thousands of military veterans who we are proud to call UND alumni. And I also think of an individual who had an outsized impact on me personally. My father. He served in the Army in the early 1960s. And like Colonel Curry's father, he rarely speaks of his service. But like the veterans here today, he proudly served his country without question. And of course, we have the utmost respect for those who have given the ultimate sacrifice in order to protect all of our freedoms. As alumni, we are grateful for your service. Thank you.
Today is the day our nation designates to honor the service, sacrifice, dedication, courage, ingenuity, the perseverance, and the resilience of America's veterans. Time and time again, we have asked them to rise to the occasion to defend the liberties and freedoms citizens of the United States enjoy. However, we sometimes forget the cost that's been paid to preserve our rights. The Fallen Soldiers Table is a tradition that calls attention to those who served and didn't come home. The ceremony has come to symbolize a commitment to never forget them while recognizing that they are still with us in spirit. Every element at the table symbolizes an aspect of the sacrifice our veterans have made. The cloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to serve. The single red rose, displayed in a vase, reminds us of the lives these Americans and their loved ones and friends who keep the faith while seeking answers. The red ribbon symbolizes our continued determination to account for our missing. A slice of lemon reminds us of their bitter fate, captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears of our missing and their families who long for answers after decades of uncertainty. The lighted candle reflects our hope for their return, alive or dead. The Bible represents the strength gained through faith to sustain us and those lost from our country, founded as one nation under God. The glass inverted, symbolizing their inability to share a toast. The chair is empty, the seat that remains unclaimed at the table. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor the memories of those who served and are no longer with us. Thank you for joining us this Veterans Day to honor those military veterans who served, those who are currently serving, and those who are no longer with us. We appreciate and value your participation in this important observance. And now, please help yourself to the cookies and refreshments. Thank you, everyone, again.